your car won't start. Again, and you're sitting in a parking lot, groceries melting in the back seat, calling someone to come jump you. Again. And the worst part, this is the third time this year. Stop. Before you spend $200 on a new battery, before you let some shop charge you $180 just to tell you what you already know, I need 2 minutes of your time, because what I'm about to show you costs $2. $2 from any grocery store or pharmacy, and it can bring a dead battery back to life permanently. Not temporarily, not for a few weeks. Permanently. Auto shops and battery retailers in America pull in over $4 billion every single year selling replacement batteries. $4 billion. And a massive chunk of that money comes from batteries that didn't need replacing. Batteries that were perfectly fixable. Batteries that you threw away because nobody told you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. But stay with me, because there's something happening inside your battery that you need to understand first. Something the battery industry absolutely does not want you to know. Because once you understand it, you will never pay full price for a battery replacement again. Here's the thing about dead batteries. Most people think a dead battery means the battery is finished, done, time to buy a new one. And that's exactly what every AutoZone employee, every dealership service writer, every Walmart automotive center wants you to believe. Because belief is worth billions of dollars to them. The reality is completely different. The reality is that most car batteries don't actually die. They get sick. There's a difference. And a sick battery can be healed for $2. Think about the last time your battery died. Maybe it happened on a cold morning. Maybe your lights were left on. Maybe the car sat for a few weeks and just wouldn't crank. You jumped it worked for a while, then it happened again and again, until finally you gave up and replaced it. Sound familiar? Sound. That pattern, that slow decline, that inability to hold a charge, has a specific name. It's called sulfation. And it's the #1 cause of battery failure in the United States. Not age, not heat, not cold. Sulfation. And it is almost entirely reversible. Here's what nobody explains to you. And I want you to really hear this because it matters. Your car battery is a lead-acid battery. Inside that battery are lead plates submerged in a solution of sulfuric acid and distilled water called electrolyte. When your battery discharges, when it sends power to start your engine, a chemical reaction happens. Lead sulfate crystals form on the surface of those lead plates. That's normal. That's how batteries work. When you recharge the battery, those crystals are supposed to dissolve back into the electrolyte solution, and the plates go back to being clean and reactive. But here's where it goes wrong. When a battery sits discharged for too long, or gets repeatedly drained and only partially recharged, those lead sulfate crystals don't dissolve. They harden. They build up layer after layer on the plates like thick crust. And when enough of the plate surface is coated in hardened sulfate crystals, the battery can't hold a charge anymore. It can't deliver enough power to start your engine. It appears dead, but the plates are still there. The battery structure is still intact. The only problem is those crystals sitting on the surface at the molecular level, blocking the chemical reaction that creates electricity. And here's the $2 solution. Distilled water and Epsom salt. That's it. Magnesium sulfate. Available at every pharmacy and grocery store in America for less than $2 a box. The same stuff people put in their bathwater. The same stuff that's been sitting on pharmacy shelves for over 100 years. They didn't hide this because it fails. They hid it because it works too well. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Epsom salt in a car battery? That sounds crazy. That sounds too simple. It sounds like something that couldn't possibly work against the laws of chemistry and engineering. And that reaction, that skepticism, is something the battery industry spent decades and millions of dollars manufacturing in your mind. Because a skeptical consumer is a paying consumer. Let me tell you about this channel for a second. Everything here is about pulling buried knowledge out of the dark and putting it back in your hands. The auto industry, the home repair industry, the appliance industry. They all operate on the same business model. Your ignorance is their income. My job is to erase that ignorance one video at a time. If you want to stop wasting money on industry lies, subscribe and hit the bell, because what's coming next will save you even more. But right now, let me take you back. Back to 1916, a small town outside of Birmingham, Alabama. A military supply chemist named Walter Graves was working on a problem. The early military vehicles of that era used lead-acid batteries that failed constantly in the field. Replacement batteries were expensive, heavy, and hard to transport to remote locations. Graves needed a field solution, something cheap, something soldiers could carry in a pack. After months of testing, he found that introducing magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, into a degraded battery's electrolyte solution would break down hardened sulfate crystal buildup on the lead plates. The magnesium ions disrupted the crystal structure at the molecular level, allowing the plates to become reactive again. The battery could hold a charge. The battery could start an engine. The military used this knowledge quietly for years. It was practical field knowledge passed between mechanics and supply officers. Ordinary people picked it up too. Farmers used it on their truck batteries. Rural families used it on the few vehicles they could afford to own. Your grandmother already knew this. She used it every single day, not just on batteries, but as a general fix-it compound that kept equipment running when buying new parts wasn't an option. Then the post-war economy exploded. The auto industry boomed. Planned obsolescence became a business strategy. And slowly, systematically, practical folk knowledge like this got buried under the weight of consumerism. The message became, when something breaks, replace it. Don't fix it. Don't think about it. Just buy a new one. That message made the battery industry billions. It's still making them billions right now, off you, off your neighbors, off every American who doesn't know what you're about to know. Let me break down the science one more time so it's crystal clear. When Epsom salt dissolves in the distilled water inside your battery, it releases magnesium and sulfate ions into the electrolyte solution. The magnesium ions are chemically aggressive toward lead sulfate crystals. They penetrate the crystal structure at the molecular level and begin breaking the bonds that hold the crystals together. You can actually imagine this happening. Picture those thick, crusty layers on the lead plates slowly crumbling, flaking away, dissolving back into solution. As the crystals break down, the clean lead surface underneath becomes exposed again. And clean lead plates can do their job. They can accept a charge, they can hold it, they can release it powerfully enough to turn your engine over. The battery isn't dead, it was just buried under its own chemistry, and $2 worth of magnesium sulfate is the shovel. Now, let's talk about the scale of what's being done to you. The US automotive battery market is worth over $4 billion annually. The average car battery costs between $150 and $250. The average American replaces their battery every 3 to 5 years. Multiply that across 280 million registered vehicles in this country. That is an incomprehensible river of money flowing from your wallet into an industry that cannot patent Epsom salt, cannot charge you for magnesium sulfate, cannot mark up a $2 compound by 3,000%. So instead, they buried it. They trained mechanics to never mention it. They built diagnostic machines that confirm sulfation as a reason to replace rather than a reason to restore. They designed marketing around the idea that battery restoration is unreliable and risky, even though the military figured it out a century ago and it's been working ever since. Every year you don't know this, you're losing money, real money, money that belongs to you. If you've made it this far, you already know more than 99% of car owners in America. So let me give you the exact method. First, safety. Wear gloves and eye protection. Battery acid is sulfuric acid and it will burn you. Work outside or in a well-ventilated space. Do not smoke near a battery. Remove the battery from your vehicle. Most car batteries have 6 caps on top. They might be individual caps or covered by a long plastic strip. Pry those caps off carefully. You'll see the cells inside. Each cell should have fluid in it. If any cells are completely dry, this method may not fully revive the battery, but it's still worth trying. Now check the existing fluid level. If the electrolyte is low, if you can see the top of the lead plates exposed above the fluid line, you need to top it off before adding anything. Use only distilled water, not tap water. Distilled. Tap water has minerals that will damage the battery further. Add just enough distilled water to cover the plates by about 1/4 inch. Now prepare your Epsom salt solution. You need about ½ pound of Epsom salt, and that's roughly 1 cup, dissolved into about 1 quart of warm distilled water. Stir it until the salt is completely dissolved. The water will look slightly cloudy at first, then clear as the salt fully dissolves. Using a turkey baster or a small funnel, slowly add the Epsom salt solution to each cell. You want to bring the fluid level up to about 1/2 inch above the plates in each cell. Go slowly. Watch the fluid level in each cell. You might see a very slight fizzing in some cells. That's normal. That's the chemistry starting to work. Don't overfill. Replace the caps. Now connect the battery to a slow trickle charger, not a fast charger, not a jump starter. A slow trickle charger set to the lowest amp setting, usually 2 amps. Let it charge for 24 to 36 hours. Slow is critical here. Fast charging a sulfated battery creates too much heat and can actually damage the plates further. After the full charge cycle, reconnect the battery to your vehicle. Try to start it. In most cases, not all but most, the engine will turn over stronger than it has in months. Leave the car running for 30 minutes to let the alternator continue conditioning the battery. Then drive it normally. Some severely sulfated batteries need 2 or 3 treatment cycles before they fully recover. If the first charge doesn't fully restore cranking power, repeat the process. Each cycle breaks down more sulfate crystal buildup. Each cycle gives your battery more of its original capacity back. This works. It has worked for over 100 years. It costs $2. And the battery industry has spent decades making sure you never found this video. That ends today. Share this. Not because I'm asking for views. Share it because your neighbor is about to spend $200 on a battery that doesn't need replacing. Share it because your sister is sitting in a parking lot right now waiting for roadside assistance. Share it because someone you know deserves to keep their money. Every share keeps alive what the industry tried to erase. The next secret opens soon, and it's going to hit even harder than this one.